What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first podcast for Critical Points. Today on the show, I have a very special guest, the one and only Caesar, my bad, from Valiance. You guys know him as the Shoutcaster and in-depth analyst on all of their streams. Say what's up.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here, to be honest, and thank you for inviting me because this sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yes. This is something we'd like to start doing since a little background here. My laptop is old, so I wanted to start doing podcasts to continually bring in content for the COPS community. And who better than to give us in-depth analysis than you? So we're glad to have you on the show. Hopefully, maybe once the invitational starts, maybe we can have you come on. In between, I know you guys are busy, so we'll just have to see how that goes. But let's talk about Critical Ops. First, let's kind of let's backtrack. Let's backtrack a little bit,
okay.
And let's go back to the Amazon Mobile Masters. And I want to hear what your thoughts on the whole experience, watching it, the first LAN and casting for it, and how that was for you guys.
So, I think that the biggest let's go with. I'll call that the bad part of that LAN because there are a lot of good things about that LAN. So I'm going to take the bad thing just out of the way. One thing is that the conditions did not allow for a crowd, unfortunately. I don't think that Critical Ops is currently at a point where that crowd would be humongous or, just really large. But even having 20 or 50 people in there, I know that when we met in the players' lounge and we watched the games, we were all getting hyped together. So that could have been a different experience. And secondly, it still wasn't a big LAN. It was only 6 teams. South America couldn't make it because of visa issues, and it wasn't a perfect experience.
Okay.
On the other hand, though, it really showed that the potential that Critical Ops has as a game that can be played on LAN, that can be streamed in front of thousands of people, and can still be exciting. And that's the most important part for me. And we also have seen that even though North America had 2 teams in the finals, the other regions who maybe weren't in their optimal lineup still could compete, meaning that no other region is miles ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because for the most part, for a long time, when you guys were doing all the regionals, it was a final of which region versus which region. And now that we have it separated, we kind of have that nice debate. Is EU better than NA? Is Asia better? Is the South America group better? And obviously at a LAN environment, that's kind of what you want to see. But at the same time, like you were saying, there was mixed players on each team and stuff. If you had to, who was the most exciting team for you guys to kind of watch, or for your perspective to see finally in a LAN setting?
So me and Maniac came in there, and we kind of knew in a way. We knew that it should be Hammers and Gangsters in the final. These are 2 teams that have not the full starting 5, but even then, the substitutes that came in are still people who play on that lineup. For Gangster, it was Luis. He was still a Gangsters player at that point, even though he officially wasn't. So we knew that these should be the 2 teams to win it out. And in the end, that's how it turned out. The thing that the team that we watched was Nova, because it was a weird mix. It was Cam and Milio, with 3 kind of the more supportive style players from Norway, not Grizz, not Smokes. Genesis this season is amazing, really. This is more of the supportive side. So we weren't sure how that mix is going to turn out, and it turned out okay. Yes, it was. I think they expected more from themselves, but I think that they did pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that shows you basically that the team chemistry is super important. And, like you said, even if it wasn't the full main GS lineup, their backups and reserves were just able to step up because they could build that chemistry and stuff. So I think, go ahead.
Well, I was about to say that's one thing that Joker always did really well as the IGL, the in-game leader. I never, and maybe this was wrong from my side, I think he was always the guy to allow freedom to his players, and, he wasn't the greatest tactical mastermind, but what he did well is that he had a system. No matter how many roster changes they made, he would fit the players into that system in record time. And that was what was really good, because then you could just pick up any star player from any team, and they could just slot right in because he had that system ready for them, and he knew how to take in new players into that system.
Yeah, I mean, for me to watch the LAN was super exciting from a spectator's viewpoint. Obviously, I would have loved to have D2R there from being a biased person. Since I own D2R, but at the same time, I was also very excited to give the players opportunities to go and experience that. And I hope it's like you said, a taste of what is to come. And I'd like to kind of segue into that as Critical Ops and Critical Force have been. They've kind of been doing these small little LANs, and I don't know if the rest of the community has seen it, but in Finland they're doing their local tournament with a LAN. Yeah. And South America did their own LAN, which looked really cool as well. And then you guys also did a little play day. Let's talk about the play day. Like, it looked beautiful. What was that location actually at?
So that was in Zagreb, 20 minutes away from the studio. It's called Kino Europa. Basically, it's a movie theater of sorts. So what was happening is that was a LAN. That was a really, really casual LAN. There wasn't any tournament. What we had is that we had a Clash Royale tournament going on the same day for our local community, which is pretty big. And what we did is we took one room, set up 10 phones, sponsored and provided by Huawei, just a small plug. And at that point, we just, it was me and Maniac standing there with microphones on us, and basically everyone who passed by were like, hey, come out, try the game, try to play it, and stuff like that. And a few people who know the game always showed up, and they helped us teach new players. So what we try to do is grow our local community, because we know that Clash Royale has that local community. And while we still, honestly, I always prefer to watch the best players. I would love to be able to have small tournaments here. Just to grow that community, to get a good team from around here. And, as I said, on a bias level, I would love to see that. I think it's great for the scene to introduce people to the game like this, directly in a 5 versus 5 environment with a good phone that can run it. And I think we did our job well.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. And you guys basically have Valiance has the stronghold right now as far as tournaments go in the Critical Ops community. And your guys, I've watched your production level literally just escalate continuously throughout the past 2 years now. And you guys also got to use the spectator mode. Can you kind of give us a little insight onto how that helps you guys casting and like how it affects like the tournament style?
So the spectator mode is day and night. I am usually the guy observing, and basically on the old client, or the client that's currently in Critical Ops, the biggest annoying part is that if you watch someone from their perspective and they die, you cannot switch. You have to stay in that position. And that's something that's not fixed for the spectator. So that big annoying part still is there. And I'm pointing this out because please, Critical Force, fix that. On the other hand, it helps you out a lot because you actually have an overview of the whole map. And I tried just so people can get the screenshots going, because I know that there are not overlays of every map available. I tried to make sure that for every map, at least in the first stream, I opened the full map overview so someone can take a screenshot of that and make callouts or anything like that that they want to do.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to switch because you know where every player is. You can just press it on the keyboard. But I don't see it's going to be really hard to implement that spectator client into the actual mobile device. That's the biggest issue. This is mostly tournament only.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about the Summer Premier League here. And this one didn't have SA. And I'd like to kind of start on that first. And I'm a big advocate for South America esports because they're huge and have been huge for a long time, and it's great to see, especially when you watch like their old streams. Like, they would have a huge fan base. Was it different for you guys? Was it a shock for you to know that they weren't going to be a part of this one?
Yeah, what basically happened is that we do, and this is public knowledge, we do everything in collaboration with Critical Force. They help us out a lot, and they said that they would love to have a local tournament organizer for South America. That they would love to have those guys step in. And so we didn't have them for a season. In the end, they decided to give a give them back to us. And it was weird because I love to see South America. The thing about South America is that you can, in a way, I'm trying to find the words to describe this. You can see how well they fit in on the map, how well they fit in on a team, and every team had their own playstyle. Mm-hmm. That's something that's maybe lacking in the other regions. Like, if we go back to, I would love to go back to the winter season because that's when it was most obvious. You had Nursing Arms or Battalion Esports with Cae5ar in-game leading, and that was a really structured game style. And that's something I haven't actually seen on that level from any other region like that. You haven't seen those smokes perfectly placed, perfect executes onto the sides. On the other hand, Insanity Killer is something more akin to what D2R is today, maybe, or what Gangsters was in the past, of just that brute force, but still staying together, playing as a team, staying coordinated. But you're going for those aim kills. That's the big way how you're going to win. Mm-hmm. And then you have Screenshot, who had Prinho and JC, and 3 players who were purely to support those 2 guys. And those 2 guys will have over 20 frags every game. The rest of the team maybe over 12. Mm-hmm. And such a weird mix of teams was amazing to see because everyone had their own playstyle, and then you could recognize a player just by watching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that goes to your point right there. When you say they would have 20, 25 kills and the rest were supporting, it really shows you that the old days, I guess, of just having a carry is not going to make it now in the tournaments.
Yeah, I think that there's so I'm not going to go too deep into this because that could last 4 hours. Mm-hmm. But I think that the point is that you have to realize how your team is structured. And if at one point you realize, oh wait, we have only one good fragger, you're probably not going to make it. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot harder for you to pull that off. On the other side, Screenshot had 2, and that's a really amazing one. Mm-hmm. Like, but as soon as Prinho and JC went to other teams, they weren't as good. And that's the thing. You can take 2-star players and put them into perfect positions. Yeah. Ensure that they are getting the flashes and nades to go in, and they did contest the big teams, but in the end you always rely on those 2 players. On your good day you can win, but if one of those guys has a bad day, you're kind of done.
Yeah,
and having that 1 or 2 carries to win.
Yeah, so I agree with that 100%. And you guys have kind of, it's been documented like this, how D2R, we always we go for low star players and hope that it works out. And it for us, finally, it kind of did. But I kind of want to keep going back. And how do you guys? So I know when the league season comes out, you have obviously the finals winners are invited, and it looks like the second place. How do you guys pick the invitational people for the summer and winter season?
So, for the summer and the winter season, we basically, and every time we invite anyone, what we do is that that's usually me and a few others, just get to research. Let's see what are like the top 8 teams in, and let's go over them. Let's see what are the strengths, the weaknesses, the results, the roster changes, and stuff like that. And in the end, just have a meeting or 2, see who do people want to invite. And that's where we take into effect stuff like I don't know. I don't want to use any examples because if I'm right, we haven't announced which teams are actually invited yet, so I do not want to spoil the results.
Yes, yeah. You don't have to spoil. That's fine.
Yeah, I've been holding on. I know who's invited for like a few days, and
you have all the goods. Why don't you share?
I know. I know everything. And people DM me like, "Hey, can our team get invited?" And can we? And I cannot tell them. A few of those guys, since everyone DM'd me, a few of those guys actually are invited. Mm-hmm. But everyone DM'd me, so that doesn't really, help them out.
So, is there a main difference between the summer and winter season and the invitationals? Like, as far as, I guess, prestige goes, is there one's bigger than the other, or they're all equal?
Well, personal preference, I like the summer and winter season more. I like the open qualifiers when they happen, but I do see the value of building up in those invitationals because it helps you build a brand, Mm-hmm. It helps put those big teams in the spotlight, attract more viewers, attract more orgs, and you have basically a showcase, because you're only going to have a good game. Mm-hmm. let's be honest, in the summer winter season, there are a lot of games that aren't that interesting, that are not going to be that close.
Mm-hmm.
So the Invitational has its value. I do have my personal preferences in the end, but I can see that I think both of them need to coexist.
Mm-hmm.
It would be perfect if we could do both constantly, but now we have to switch them from one season to the next.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the winners of the summer season. Were there any huge surprises in your opinion to the actual victors?
So North America, I think it was North America was in a roller coaster basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cae5ar, as you know, because I'm sure you watched the games, you did not start off well.
No, it was man, so as a spectator and an owner at the same time, I was nervous, so nervous on the edge of my seat. And you're right. The first 2 weeks were scary, but it also was entertaining, very entertaining.
Yeah, it was really entertaining. The games were really close. And on the other hand, after that, you watch like Gangster just stomp people,
slaughtered everybody.
Yeah, and then at that point you're like, okay, so Gangsters really got in their groove. And also your map against Hammers. So that was the second week, that was also 13-12 on Canals.
But it was 9-12, I believe, when we came back. So
and it's not even that. I honestly think that you did deserve to win that one, because even though Hammers got, they got 12 rounds, they won both pistols, they secured the anti-ecos, everything was going into their favor.
They should have won.
That was their game to lose. And when I saw after those two games that, so Cae5ar is full of star players again, but this time they're actually closing out those close games.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I was starting to get worried. Because it doesn't matter if you win every game 13-12 if you win every game in the end.
Absolutely.
And then third week came in, that game on Bureau versus Gangsters. So that terrorist side half was pretty good. And it was 6-6, and we were hyping it up.
Very predictable. The first half was very predictable.
Yeah, and we were like, okay, this is going to be fun. It's going to be really good. And when Cae5ar just roll over Gangsters after that just 7 rounds in a row. At that point, I realized this is going to be Cae5ar and Hammer.
Yeah.
To be contested. Yeah. At that point, I switched my predictions because Gangsters after that, they got mowed over so much that they switched their in-game leader.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. And I don't know what behind the scenes, the personal reasons behind that, but that's something that was, I personally think, that was a big deal. Like, no one has seen GS kind of in the last 2 years not know kind of what to do in a situation.
Yeah, it's the first time. So Joker has been in-game leading that team for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was the in-game leader in the last summer season, even before that, and it was it was shocking at that point.
It was definitely shocking. But I'll be honest with you, going into, because I kind of feel like everyone kind of knew who the 4 teams were that were going to make it past through the groups.
Yeah.
And I think actually, the other regions were kind of, I guess a lot closer and a lot less predictable. And we'll get into those later. But the NA region, like I feel like we kind of all knew, and it was kind of similar to what was it, the winter season when Infinity Forge was in there, or Infinity Forge was in this one, weren't they?
No. This was UPR or now Nemesis Pro and Virus 5.
Virus 5, that's right. So the other teams that qualified, like, to get there, there always seems to be a skill gap between like the regular teams and the other ones. And what I kind of hope to see is the other teams, get into the top 4. But I still think there is quite, at least in the NA region, there's the big 3. The 4th team is kind of always up in the air, especially with, like we were mentioning this before when we're off the air. It's a wild west, and people jump rosters all the time. I will tell you this from my perspective, from seeing the last season, we didn't want. I personally didn't want to go up against GS in the semis.
Yeah,
I wanted the team to get that first seed and it's for a reason. It's because you want to play statistically the weakest team to get to the finals.
Exactly, and that's I think where a lot of people do not recognize how much those seeds are important, because getting first seed, especially in A, allows you to play the fourth place. And no offense to Impreza, they don't exist anymore. So but still, those players are really good, but they're not on the level of the top three. They don't have the consistency. They haven't played with the same roster for a long enough time. If you go second or third, you're Gangsters versus Gangsters or Hammers. And that's hard match is going to be a lot harder. Although it wasn't that hard for Hammers in the end.
Which was a surprise for me.
Yeah, no, both of the semifinals shocked me. I think I even predicted Impreza on stream in a way, because what I have seen is that when Vulcan is the in-game leader, he knows how to play against teams that play like D2R. He knows how to lead a team. In the end, it turns out he wasn't in-game leader for the semifinals, so all of my analysis fell flat. But I think that he is the guy who, if he is in-game leading versus you, I would be scared.
Well, I
think he will,
especially if he's gonna be. I'm pretty sure he still is in GS. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but that's a scary thing. People got to think about their roster now, going into this invitational. So it's the invitational. Obviously, the teams haven't been announced yet, but I mean, I think the invitational, like you're saying, there's a lot of credibility on the line because it is invite only.
Yeah.
And it's important to get those wins. It is for your brand and for your legacy.
And, also the general recognition, because, if it turns out at the end that the same team won 2 seasons in a row, it means a lot more.
Yeah, it gives you that validity. So,
and because, let's be honest, Gangsters won the North American part like 4 seasons in a row. That was summer, autumn, winter, and spring. They didn't win the whole season every time. Either they couldn't or they fell short to elevate. But still, that's a really big achievement, and I don't think that's going to be matched soon by any other team. I think that the teams are a lot closer in skill now, and I'm not writing off Gangsters in this tournament.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, in your opinion, is GS still the team to beat? Because in my opinion, they are.
Are they the team to beat? I think that whoever wins the invitation is going to be the team to beat. Currently, no one is the team to beat.
Okay.
Because Hammers, although they lost in the finals, it was so close. And I said, as soon as they get to map 5, it's a coin flip.
Oh, absolutely.
I cannot remember what map 5 was, but I remember myself saying, this map is so good for both teams that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it could go either way.
It's a coin flip. Exactly. So, they're not out. They acquired Knight.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. You want to talk about if this was sports and there was blockbuster trades and acquisitions, that is it right there. I would like to say, like, when Alpha went to GS, that was big. I think Knight going to Hammers is bigger.
Yeah, no, that's definitely bigger. That was a shock. The shock was Knight leaving. Knight going to Hammers was like, I mean, sure, he could go to Hammers or D2R, that's it, but wow, and I think that's going to have a really big impact on them. Because,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, now the Hammers roster looks way too stacked. I have no idea how you pick out a main 5.
Hammers is scary, and I'll give you a little insight. Like, when I look in our screenshot chats and our scrims and stuff, Hammers is very scary. They're already scary before. They have, even when they were IFL, they were making a name, and now that they're Hammers, they're consistently 1 or 2 top best teams in the world, in my opinion, since the last year. And now with a seasoned veteran who has championship experience, went to the LAN, he's professional, he's mature. Like, Knight adds a different element to your team no matter what team you go to.
Exactly, and that's what Hammers were lacking. Maybe not in the summer season. I think in the summer season, they lost in the finals because it was really close, but it wasn't like the old season. In all of the finals they have been in, they have won 1 map.
Mm-hmm.
if we count our tournaments. They won that ESL way back when, before the winter season, before the group stages.
Mm-hmm.
But, and maybe some other smaller community tournaments, they were able to win one map in like 3 or 4 final. And at that point, you start to get worried because it gets into the players' heads. Oh, it's again, we're in the finals. Again, we're probably going to lose. This is happening. It's gangsters again, And now with Knight there, that's a big mental block you can turn off, because Knight can be that calm guy to come in and say, okay, be lax. I mean, that's a really big swing. And they also quite observers, because they clearly need more excellent players.
You can, let me tell you this, in the COPS world, you can never have enough reserves, in the fact that you just don't know what's going to happen with a player, to be honest, like whether they're going to be busy with school, because the demographic's a lot younger, or they're just not going to be able to make it on that day. So to have like a solid reserve is definitely key. And it's especially if, and I think teams are building their teams more towards, all right, are you 16 and up? And the reason I say that is because for LAN, generally you have to be 16 and up.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to find those players, and that's kind of like another thing where people are like, all right, well, in the competitive scene, we always see the same people with the same teams, or same players with the same groupings of people, and it's hard for an intermediate player to move up to, get that opportunity. Do you feel like that has something to do with chemistry, or just friendship, as far as, all right, well, we've known each other for years, I don't want to bring in someone else that may or may not be good just on a whim?
So I think that the biggest reason why it's so hard to break into, it's me to get into Gangsters or D2R or Hammers in North America, for example, but that counts for every region, is that everyone currently has that mindset of going in and saying, okay, I'm in this team, but if I get a better offer, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's hard to get yourself known, because you're never going to play up to your full potential unless you spend months and months grinding with the same lineup, with the same team, and basically what Hammers have done. Now they picked up a few new players, but High, Blue Eyes, Fishbits, they've all been there from the start.
Vitaly went back, so he was also a big helper there. So I mean,
and that's the thing, because when they were IFL, when they got into our tournaments, we knew those guys. That those guys have played for a long time, that they are good, but they made themselves known, the star players they are, because of how much because they've stick together, because of the results that they have gotten. Mm-hmm. And once you get into like the semis of the finals of a really big tournament, you're an established player. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
On the other hand, you're not going to get there unless you stick to one lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as and I'm not only blaming the players here, because I think we are lacking a system that's going to promote individual players so that they can actually join teams and try as a team. Mm-hmm. Because currently the way you get noticed is you do good at scrims.
Correct.
But if you were able to get noticed somewhere else, and then use scrims only for practice, not for showing off, and play with your team as a team, I think that the scene could be a lot healthier currently.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point that you make there. I mean, what other outlets or avenues could say a community member make, or I guess what a community tournament organizer developed to bring in these newer players that are good enough, that they could make the top teams, but then at the same time, you do have to worry about the all right, well, they're hacking, like the instant, like if you're not in that top percent, like you're automatically, and no one knows your name, you're automatically accused of hacking.
Exactly, and that's just the nature of online games. I think that a lot of our younger audience doesn't realize that many of those hacking accusations happen in other games, and a lot of the shooters go this way. When, for example, in Counter-Strike, when Stubby2K got into the scene, when he started playing, mm-hmm. everyone was like, this guy's hacking, this guy is not legit. Mm-hmm. I mean, look now.
Where he is now,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Everyone, because when you get burned once, when one guy's hacking, you're going to be suspicious of everyone else in the world. And that's the biggest issue.
I agree. And it's tough in this community. And that's one thing that I kind of want to touch on is the community is really rough on the game developers with the anti-hack and anti-cheat and all that. And I just, from a outside viewpoint, it's all right. Yeah, so the game has been in beta and alpha for a while, but you want to release your best product you can at 1.0. And I know that the developers understand the situation that's going on. And it kind of hurts me to see people online just kind of going at them like, all right, well, if they release this, where's the anti-cheat and all that stuff? Is it from a caster standpoint or just outside? What are your thoughts on that as well?
So from a caster standpoint, one thing that I always point out when I talk to people is that while we are casting, while we're on stream, we assume everyone is legit. Like, it happened a few times that we went to a break and we're like, no way this guy's legit.
There's no way!
They're like, but I would rather hype up a hacker and then he gets exposed and it's like, oh, okay, and everything just shuts down. And then all of the fame that he maybe had just get swept under the rug. Then have a really good player and it'd be during the same like, oh, this guy's hacking, he's not legit, and then he is innocent. At that point, I took fame away from someone who didn't deserve it. You have to go innocent until proven guilty.
Correct.
But for the anti-cheat and stuff like that, I think that there are two big things that people are missing. One is that if they're released, that doesn't mean that they're not working on the anti. And that's the big thing, because graphic designers cannot work on the anti-cheat. And it's not, the regular developers cannot work on that as well. You have to have really specific experts, and there aren't a lot of them in the world who can work on that, and it's hard to develop one. And then it gets to the question of, if you had all the permissions in the world, you can figure out everyone who's hacking,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the thing is, when does it get too intrusive, If an app
that's
on
that
the Play
fine
Store,
line. You're right. That is a fine line.
When you download an app of the App Store or the Play Store, I don't really want it to be checking every single app I have open or to take random screenshots of the screen and stuff like that. So, that's also a thin line you have to walk on. And on the other hand, that takes processing power. We know that Critical Ops is a demanding game. And if we were to start developing our anti-cheat, I don't work for Critical Force, but I feel like we are the community, if we start developing that blindly, you're going to lose a lot of processing power and performance is going to drop. In the FPS,
everybody wants to have 60, that smooth 60 or 120.
120.
And if you have some kind of patch or something that's trying to log data on the whole server within everyone's game, that's going to drop your frame rate. That's going to lose performance. I mean, what Counter-Strike has Valve, the Valve, what is it, Valve Guard or whatever, and I mean, the VAC bans. That's right.
And it's not perfect.
No, it's not perfect, but I'm sure it. When I have Steam open, my computer is just running slow, so I can't even imagine something like that on a mobile device. Phone. Yeah,
and I mean, what Valve did is that they now have a neural network to detect hackers. That's something that takes, probably millions of dollars to actually invest and develop, because you're creating a self-learning AI that will find hackers. That's not something that you can just conjure up. That's not something you think of. You have to invest a lot of development time into that.
You literally have to develop it yourself.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't think they use that anymore, but like years ago, ESL had something called ESL Wire. That wasn't on Critical Ops, so that was their external anti-cheat for most of their games. But what happened often is that it caused performance issues for players, because it would start checking stuff, it would take screenshots, take recordings, and my laptop, while playing StarCraft, which I played back in the day, it cannot handle that as well. And that's the thing, that the anti-cheat doesn't come in that easily. And to top it all off, when you're developing an anti-cheat, you're always behind. you can make your defenses as good as you think they can be, but there's always going to be, just statistically, there has to be a hole in them.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot fix that hole until the hackers find it, then you patch it.
Yeah,
and you're always going to
exactly.
be one step behind.
Mm-hmm.
You're always the defender, you're always the reactive player, and there's the peaker's advantage in critical ops. And that's the same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the people hacking are peaking, and
it's sad though. I mean,
right, yeah,
it's unfortunate, in any game, and people forget that there's cheating in every game. Has always been going on.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to get off of that a little bit and talk about the Asia and the EU side and King's demise and Vision Gaming. Like, I was excited to see Kings kind of literally bring their name back. They're when I came in, one of the founding teams in COPS.
Yeah. King being a part of Kings has that pedigree, as you're on Kings, and Kings is always going to be a threat. Well, like, I think that Europe and Asia had really two different stories. In Europe, you had Throne finishing first seed, a team that qualified, and I knew they were going to do good. I didn't expect them to do that good.
They had that Cinderella story.
Yeah, it really was. Unfortunately, it didn't end well, but yeah, you could really see that they researched their opponents. Mm-hmm. And I even talked to their coach, their analysts, the players, and they knew exactly what was happening. They didn't have the firepower advantage. They didn't have they still had really good players, don't get me wrong, but they weren't out-aiming everyone. But they knew exactly what was going to happen. And you could see in a couple of rounds, especially in the semis versus S2, 3 nades going in the beginning of the round in a random location and hitting 2 S2 players. That's because they knew they're going to be there.
They're doing their homework.
And they've done it perfectly. On the other side, Vision, who won it in the end, but they have been playing not terribly, but considering that their Vision and their standards throughout the whole season, they really weren't looking that well,
Yeah, and they had a stacked lineup as well. I think EU had a lot of good stacked lineups, to be honest with you.
EU was looking really good in that season. And also now, with the small shuffle happening, EU has a lot of really good teams. And making the top 4 selection for EU for the Invitational, I still would I want to invite 8 teams.
Yeah.
It's really hard where you make the cut.
Well, statistically, and even a long time ago, EU and Asia had the biggest amount of teams that would play in your guys' World Cups and stuff. By far, it would be, all right, there's 50 to 60 teams for NA, and then over 100 for Asia and EU.
Exactly. And what happened in Asia this season is just the complete opposite of EU, where in EU currently you have so many good teams and we have no idea who to invite. I'm not going to make any names because it may give away who we are inviting in the end. But that was a heated discussion. That one, no one is happy that it's only going to be 4 teams in Europe. On the other side, Asia, let's be honest, with King's demise breaking up, CSPG losing 4 players, they are now lacking a lot of star. And all of the remaining star players are in 2 teams. You have CSPG and you have SpaceX. And after those 2 teams, and I don't think this is controversial, no other team in the region is close to those 2 guys.
There's a massive skill gap at that point.
Yeah, that's the reason, because let's be honest, SpaceX just looks broken on paper. You take the best player of King's Demise, Leapy. You take the 2 best players of Love from Past, Despair and Desire. You take the best player of CSPG, TikTok. It doesn't matter who the 5th is. But then the 5th guys are really good. It's A17, it's Kaiola, it's Bibo. It's weird. That team, it just looks way too good.
It's sad for me because Learn from Past I've always been cheering for Learn from Past. They were one of the teams that kind of came up in the Asia side.
Yep.
So, but I mean, it happens. It happens in the Wild Wild West here of the COPS community, and I think moving forward, we're only going to get better. And I'm excited because, like we were talking about earlier, SA is back.
Oh, SA, and I love South America. I love to cast their games. It's always going to be a lot of fun. You know that something weird is going to happen in the South American games, but and also the amount of fans that are there and how passionate they are about the game, it really makes that region special in a way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, their region was big enough to have their own, and I kind of see why CFU did that. And any predictions? Who is? I mean, we've been away from them for a season. Is Battalion still up there? Like, I mean,
so Battalion, before we announced the season, announced that there are 4 players that core of Rezik is in Sem 1 and missing one, but we'll pretend I'm Gollins. There we go. Gollins, and they're going to be playing PUBG.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if that team exists. That's the thing that...
You know what? Currently, you're actually right, because
yeah,
they were playing in the Star Challenge.
Exactly. So, you know, at that point, it's a weird spot because that's why we went with the full qualifiers for South America. Mm-hmm. We have no idea. No teams are that stable currently. Let's get the qualifiers up. Let's see where that leads. What happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, South America, their community is big. They love COPs. They love gaming in general. I'm sure you're going to get 4 great teams that come into that because they're going to want it. They're going to want to be back in this, the like we talked about, it's prestigious to be in this invitational. Obviously, now they got to work for it. So their hunger is definitely going to be bigger. And one thing I like about this, it's the Americas versus the Eurasias. So it kind of, anything can kind of happen in this.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's a weird spot, you know, because I have about those games between regions, I have no idea how to feel about them. Mm-hmm. On one hand, it's really exciting. Oh my god, the best of North America versus the best of South America, or North America versus Europe. It's always really fun. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, ping is always going to play a role there. And it's impossible to avoid it. And it's impossible to, you know, like find a server that's going to be okay for both, because, you know, like South America can play South America and kind of NA. There's nothing in between. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can go on, oh, let's play, maybe for North America and Europe, you could play East Coast or United Kingdom, and it's kind of close.
It's kind of,
yeah, you know, at least it's closer than like 300 to 5. It's like 100 to 5, you know, stuff like that. Because, or like 100 to 40, because the United Kingdom is far away from most of the players, and unless you are on the East Coast, it's going to be far away from the West Coast players, stuff like that.
Do you think it'll be predictable who makes it into, I guess we'll say the semis, the top 4 teams?
Depends on the region. For Europe, I have no idea. Not going to lie there. Like, I think that Vision are going to be one of those teams. And I think it's no secret that Vision, you know, is going to play there. On the other hand, for all of the other regions, it depends on the seeding, depends on the matches. Mm-hmm. And it really depends on who shows up, because you have one best of 3 and you're out. Mm-hmm. And while it's not a best of 1, you can still, you know, come back. It's going to be stressful, it's going to be intense, and that's what makes this tournament a lot more exciting, a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. I personally hope it's not as predictable, because I want it to be exciting from a spectator and a fan standpoint. You know, I am a huge underdog person. I always want to see the upset. I just think it's more entertaining, more exciting.
Yeah, so basically when we are casting, we're always cheering for the best story, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, cheating. I don't think we are often biased. Maybe when we joke around, like with Destiny DX, because
you guys and Mr. Bates have a special relationship.
Yeah, it's I know, and I've been called out for it on Twitter, like, oh, you have to be a professional caster, you mustn't talk down to players like that. But it's the players that I'm the most friendly with that you can come in and say, you know, you're bad. You have to unbox new strategies or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it fun, because it shows to the viewers who maybe don't engage with all of the players that often that, hey, these are actual people.
Mm-hmm.
They have their preferences, a sense of humor, everything that goes on with that. So I think that's a really fun part of casting. And it's in the end, we're always going to be neutral. Like SDX played good. The summer season, we said, we did commend them. We said, oh, this was really good. They're really improving.
They made it to the groups, and whereas Nova did not.
So, exactly. Oh no, LV did not. S2 made it out.
Yeah. So
yes, / Nova.
It's it shows that you're human, but also shows that you guys do interact with the community, which is good to see. I mean, in and out of, like, I've seen your guys' Twitter posts where you have random questions and stuff. It's just good to see. Let's talk about the studio. Every time always looks different. Do you guys actually have to do that yourselves, or you just come in and do your job?
Oh, so me and Maniac, we don't do anything, we just come in and
so you guys are the celebrities then. You guys come in.
Yeah, exactly. So we are there to look pretty on stream, and that's pretty much it. And it's up to them to make us look pretty. we don't do anything there. We just come in and we of course we research the teams, all joking aside and stuff like that. And you do practice, you do vocal exercises to ensure that you actually are getting better and always looking how you can improve as a caster. But the team behind the scenes is, I think, a lot more talented than we are.
Oh, and the production quality is amazing. As for someone who does a little bit of production, I can tell there's a lot going. There's multiple cameras, there's multiple feeds going on. It's people managing real-time stats and replays and Twitter. Like, that's phenomenal. Yeah,
and it's like, it is, since, let's be honest, we aren't a big company. We are bigger than most tournament organizers, including clubs, currently, probably all of them. But compared to like another esports company, like an ESL, we're no one, basically, But we then have to find creative ways to do stuff and to make them look really professional. Like, you can maybe see it when we screw up a bit, but like Luca has the replay button under the table.
Oh.
And it's like an old joystick of like a fighting stick that we made into a replay.
Wow.
It's improvised, and then at that point, when it gets to that, he just hits the button and he plays the replay. So because we have one guy in our production, and that one guy is making sure that the sound quality is okay, that the scene switches happen on time. During the game, you can see Cae5ar, on her laptop looking at Twitter quotes to send it to the production guy. I'm the guy observing. So we are doing stuff, but still, I think that we work with what we have. And everyone there loves the game, and we love esports as a whole at its core. So we do what we can to make sure that you can enjoy the show as much as possible.
Yeah, you guys do other games. I know you guys do Clash Royale. And you also, I believe, Valiance and Co. is a separate entity, but a part of Valiance. So you guys have a CSGO team.
Okay, I think we are merging now, so there are not going to be Valiance and Co. only Valiance now, but we do have a CSGO team. We have a Clash Royale team now again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, since when CRL started, that our clan kind of fell apart. Because, we're not going to keep the players from chasing their dreams and getting into CRL, which was franchised, and that was a lot of money to get into.
Yeah.
But then what we did is now that some of those players are back. Most of it didn't make into CRL, and now we have our team kind of, we are competing smaller tournaments, but still, those are really, really good players, and we are hoping some of them take off.
That's great. Any other plans to go? Let's see what else out there. Forward Assault, maybe Armajet again. I know you guys did an Armajet one in the past. Like, any other plans for any other mobile tournaments for Valiance?
So, I don't think I can actually spoil anything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no, we are always looking for new games you can do, and new stuff that interests us, but we have to look at it from a business perspective. Is this going to be worth it for us? Are we in the end going to stay afloat as a company and stuff like that? Even though, like, all of us love what we do, it's still a business.
It's still a business.
Exactly. Like, And it's not, I don't know, like I have had days where I come into the studio, I'm tired, I don't want to do anything. I definitely don't want to sit in front of a camera and talk. But as soon as the countdown goes down and I'm live, I have to smile, I have to talk. And the big part here is that I think a lot of players can feel for that is this is something that you're trying to do as good as possible. You're trying to be the best. That means that sometimes you're not going to be in the mood.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that one thing that it's not that I'm spoiling it because I'm not going to tell you anything, but we're going to do something fun in this season, basically. So something's going to be happening in the middle of the season. I think it's going to be fun. I hope everyone else thinks it's fun because it was mostly my idea.
Oh, of course. If it's your idea, then it has to be
then
fun.
It has to. Exactly. It has to be perfect. When was I ever wrong?
No. That's great to hear. So you guys will have to tune into the middle of the season to see about that. And we'll go into my last topic here is the Cae5ar design, and then I'll just kind of have some fun kind of questions that I kind of want to ask you, like who your best players, top teams, all that stuff. Let's talk about Critical Ops is dying.
The classic one.
This I've been hearing this for years. You guys have been seeing it for years. Is it mainly that top 1% of the competitive community? Because people got to realize, the casual players make up a majority of this game.
Yeah.
And the casual players, from I'm a casual player. I go out and play, but I mean, it's a lot of the stuff is aimed towards a more bigger, broader demographic. But with the hacking and all that stuff, do you feel like that takes away from the casual game as well, or just mainly that's a competitive kind of nature kind of thing?
So I think that it's not that it doesn't have an impact, like saying, oh, this doesn't impact the casual scene, like the hacking and everything that's happening, it would just be straight up lying. But what we have to realize is, and just because you've been playing the game for 2 years, it doesn't mean that it's going to stop improving. And in the end, the game isn't out yet. Like that, when the game comes out, there should, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure there will be a big marketing push. Let's get this game to the masses. Let's see everyone who can actually see that. And most of the improvements currently, this is all guesswork, but I'm pretty sure that what CFE currently want to do is improve the game as much as possible when it comes to the casual community, the gameplay in and of itself. And then when we actually release, then you can release it with the new anti-cheat, with a different ranking system, more maps, or more cases or something like that. Mm-hmm. What they have to do now is ensure that the game runs on most phones, that you're able to optimize it as much as possible, that you can have a really good experience when you start up the game, that the game looks pretty, that you can market it, gather a big player base, and then it's about keeping player.
Yeah, like if you're a first-time person going into the game, it looks beautiful. It really does.
It's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm. They had the critical pass coming out. I think that's a cool concept.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, the critical pass is anything that can really help you. So, as a developer, what you're looking for is how can I make profit from this?
Profit and also playback value as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Critical Pass is a really good idea, and there's a lot of games have been using that. Fortnite, the big example, but Dota 2 before that.
Oh, absolutely,
and Rocket League as well. And why that's really good is because it does two things at the same time. First of all, it just gets you revenue. Mm-hmm. Someone is going to buy that pass, and then you're going to be able to, that's revenue, and buying a pass is a lot more inviting than buying cases.
Correct. Because there's more incentives when you buy the pass.
Yeah, more incentives, and you know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, maybe I can get a really good skin or a really bad one. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, while doing that, it gives you, as you said, replay value.
Absolutely.
Because now there's something to grind for, now there's something to play, and that's like, I'm not sure if this saying exists in English, but in Croatian there's a saying that when translate would go, you swat two flies with one swing.
Yeah.
Because you just got rid of two problems
Yeah.
with one
Yeah.
solution.
It's two birds with one stone.
Exactly, two birds with one stone. That's the one. I knew it existed, but I just forgot about it.
I like yours. Maybe I'll say start saying swat two flies with one swing now.
Yeah, it's Croatian has a lot of weird sayings, but well, it's definitely, I think that's a really good solution. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can go the Rocket League route of having a basic critical pass that's available to everyone, and then a paid one that's good, and in Rocket League gives you something like every 5 levels or every 3 levels, and it's not as premium as the big one.
Yeah,
but I think that if critical pass was free, at that point, what do you base your revenue off of?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
People are not going to be. No one's going to buy cases if you can get everything in the critical pass for free, or you're going to get almost nothing out of the critical pass, and then it's a bad pass.
Absolutely.
No, it's bad value for your time.
So, and that's what I do think the community and the casual gamers do forget. At the end of the day, it is a business. Yes, Critical Force has received multiple investments, but those are investments. Those investments do have to be, paid back or grown. So
yeah, they don't last forever.
No, they don't. And I know that they said they're going to be putting it towards their esports scene as well. And I'm excited because I believe there's going to be multiple lands. And you've seen they're putting stuff into the esports scene, so it's going to be bigger and better. So that when people say the game is dying, I think I can't speak for the million daily users, but I can speak from what I've seen is if a developer didn't care, they wouldn't be trying to improve what people are asking for,
Yeah. Also, one big thing that kind of has to be pointed out, let's be honest, our studio and our production value usually isn't seen in games with the viewership of criticals,
Correct. Absolutely.
I think that, and the prize pool that we have, I think that, and this is going to maybe sound weird or wrong, and I may regret saying this, but I think that a lot of the community has to realize that what they have now is a lot better than a lot of other games on this viewership level.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you speak about viewership level, we aren't hitting hundreds of thousands of views in these streams. So concurrent views and all that means a lot analytic wise, and I don't think people look into those kind of details. But it kind of hurt me when I saw people saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna put X amount of hours in this game for only $500 or something like that." Exactly. And I get it from both sides, but at the same time, Ford Assault's been around for a while. They just had their first tournament for only, I believe, $500 total.
Yeah. And so I kind of looked at that and went kids these days, because I played StarCraft for, I have no idea how many hours a day, and that meant coming back from high school and making sure that everything's done so that I can get to playing and practice and grind. And I never got good at the game. I was diamond, but considering the hours I put in, I was bad. I never made it far into tournaments, And it really has to come down to, if you're going to grind and play this game, you should do it because it's fun.
Because you love it.
If the game is not fun for you, this is not currently the game that you're going to make your big money off. If all you're here for is money, then this is not the best game for you. If you want both, then you're going to have to be patient.
Yep.
And that's the weird part.
If you want all the money, you should be in Clash Royale or Arena of Valor. Those two games are having massive tournaments,
Exactly.
And it's sad because you look at how excited they used to get for the $200 and cases. And I'm not saying that they're entitled, because yes, they do want it to grow and they do want it to get bigger, but at the same time, it's you can't expect. So say we did have a LAN, wherever it is. How many people you think would show up for that LAN to watch if it was an open LAN?
Oh, not a lot. I think that a lot of the audience is too young to actually, they cannot afford to travel by themselves. A lot of them are not going to get their parents to take them there. So if we get a LAN, and if I get any second decision, I probably won't, but I will want to have a small, close to the audience, most of the other teams, and like let's get people who are really passionate about the game. And if someone wants to fly over, sure, but you're not going to fill an arena.
Yeah,
That's just not a feasible goal.
it's at this point it's not realistic, and that's another thing they got to look at.
Yeah.
Is like, all right, well, if ESL one's booking Barclays centers because they can, and they can put up the $500,000 million cash prize pools, and it's something that maybe because I'm older and I look at like, all right, well, we've been grinding this game, the people have been grinding this game, and I see where the players want more, but you have to also look at the fact that, all right, well, how many orgs are in this game? Major orgs.
Yeah, of major orgs,
I'd say like
none.
Zero.
Yeah,
zero.
That's...
You have your mid tier orgs, and then your tier 3 ones. Like you have tier 3 and then tier 2. There's no tier 1s in this game, and the problem I feel like is partly because of the community, in my opinion. And it sucks to say that, but the community is very toxic in aspects. Like, you got the biggest representatives of like these games, and they're talking bad about it. Like, why would another org want to join this game?
Maybe I think that may play an effect, but I think mostly what has to happen for the big orgs to come in is that, let's be honest, the viewership numbers has to rise, and how when that's going to happen is with time. Like, our numbers are growing. We are gaining subscribers, we are gaining viewers, but that's going to be a process. You're going to have to wait for it to happen, for the viewers to grow, and when the viewers reach a certain point, you're going to have tier 1 orgs in this, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be amazing, but we have to wait until that happens.
And you have to enjoy the ride. I mean, from CS 1.6 to CSGO took forever to get to where it is now.
Yeah.
People that just see it now, like, oh, this is a big game, like, they went through a lot of trial and error and a lot of hardships.
Yeah, no, like the original version of the CSGO that was developed by Hidden Path and not by Valve was horrible. Like, people didn't want to play it, and it took a lot of work to get it where it is today. And in the end, it is still like the community being passionate, playing the game, but it is also time. If you do not, and I mean, let's be honest, like, a year for business is not a lot. You need a lot longer.
Generally, a business has a 10-year plan.
Exactly, and that's the big thing. You have to wait for those viewers to grow, and I think we more than doubled our subscribers in a year, which, while being excellent, still doesn't put us on, humongous numbers. And we'll have to wait for those numbers to come in. And I'm sure that they're going to come in one day, I believe in this game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a really good expected experience. I think that it is casual enough that you can start playing it and just start watching tournaments, but it has a really high skill floor and skill ceiling to actually compete.
Yep. And with the professional value, like your guys' tournaments, even the ESL one was really good. That was beautifully done. With I believe there was the guys from Viz League that were doing it back then, so it looked professional. As long as we keep having those professional quality tournaments, that will also attract, the viewership and stuff as well as the game continues to grow. So let me ask you some fun questions here.
Sure.
Who are your top? We won't say 5. We'll say top 3. Actually, no. Yeah, let's do 5. If you can make a roster, your best roster in the world right now with any player.
So, top 5 players or best roster?
Best roster. If you can make your best roster, knowing the roles and stuff, and this team you feel like would just be dominant, who would your roster be? Like, who would be your sniper, entry fraggers, and support players?
Give me a second to actually set this team up. Okay. First of all,
and it's a best of 5. It's not a one map. It's a best of 5.
Yeah. The first thing I'm looking for is I need an in-game leader that's going to be really flexible, because I'm going to put a lot of star players into this, and if they don't have that cohesion, it's not going to work. Usually, I think that this pair is one of, if not the best in-game leader in the world. He works in a structured team. He's not going to be my choice here. I would probably go with based on last season, Vitaly or Toast could be one of the choices. But I think Cae5ar should be the best one here. A lot of fragging power on that guy. Still a really good in-game leader, able to read the game well, and you can notice him being in the server and not being in the server for vision. So Cae5ar is my number one pick. After that, I need a few general all-star excellent players. I want to take Leapy.
Oh, that's a nice pick.
I think Leapy is really underrated. That guy is... The things I've seen that guy do just seem absurd. And but why I want Leapy in my team? First of all, he knows how to play in a team that's not only aim-based but has a little bit of structure. That's the thing I'm going for. It's like the way that D2R and Hammers played this season, because it was similar with Vitaly allowing more freedom and Toast giving in some more structure in the end. It's like we are going to have structure to fall back on, but we are mostly relying on everyone winning their duels. And Leapy has shown that he can play in a structured team in Learn from Past and in a free flow team in King's Demise. So he can do it all, basically. And he's also a really good secondary Eurasia player. He can even be the primary one, but he's good enough to be the secondary. So it's Cae5ar Leapy. After that, when considering entry fraggers and who I want to be, going in first in this team, I want a player that really explosive, really good spray transfers, and just able to run into a site first. And I have to know that he will listen to the in-game leader. So I think that High Blue Eyes, really good choice. Isn't from South America, really good choice. But honestly, I think it has to be Milio.
Okay.
Milio is the best for that role.
So right now you got a player from 3 regions.
Yeah. And I'm not doing this on purpose, but I want to turn it out that way. So we have Cae5ar, Leapy, Milio. And now I've kind of filled in all the gaps. I would love to have a Eurasia player. And I would love to have an all-around, just this guy can win a game by himself. For the Eurasia, I think I would pick Cam just, because he is that. But since he isn't playing anymore, as far as I know, I would probably the second best would be Angel.
Oh yeah, I was just say Angel's up there.
Yeah, Angel is going to be Angel. Then next to Angel, you can either go with Despair or Desire. Can still do really good with the ratio, or you can go to a lot of players in NA. You can also always go Joker. But I think that Angel is the guy that I need. And for that 5th spot, so we really have everything. We have the in-game leader, we have the entry fragger, we have Leapy as the all-around, this guy is really, really good, really consistent. I have seen him have one bad game in his life. Only one. And we have Angel as the ratio. Now you need that, the X factor. You need the guy who can just sometimes win the game by himself. Just randomly come into the server and win everything. Either that, or you need someone really, really consistent and a really good anchor player. But I think we have that in Milio. So if I was going for that, I would go Ascent. But since I'm not, I'll go either Strong, or I would go with basically anyone Hammers, someone between High and Blue Eyes.
I would say High Blue Eyes is a good choice. Even Knight on consistency as well.
Oh yeah, Knight. There are way too many good players for this. But I think that Strong is the guy to pick here. Just based on how good he was in the past and how good he was taking more games, both in Elevate and Vision. He has shown that he can work with Cae5ar really well. So, wait, I have 3 Vision players in this. Yeah, that shows a lot.
Yeah, it shows a lot right there. It really does. I mean, their team is very, very strong. So
yeah,
that's why it's a tough question.
Yeah, Cae5ar, the players who are not leaving this team are going to be Cae5ar and Leapy. These are the 2 guys who, no question, no one else I think in the world can do their roles to that level. For everyone else, I have 2 or 3 picks. I can remove both of the Vision players if I'm not allowed that, but then you go, instead of Angel, you pick up either Cam if possible. You can pick up Joker, Despair, or Desire. You can go Sem 1.
Yeah,
God,
Sem 1.
Sem 1.
There's no SA players.
Yeah, there's no SA players because I haven't seen them for a season.
Yep.
That's the problem. Or you can go with someone. You can go with Genesis. Jesus. Maybe Genesis is even better than Angel currently. Rewrite that one. Take Genesis. I forgot that the guy existed.
What about?
Now that I've rambled about it.
If it's a one map and it's a close map, and like we'll say Legacy is a closed map.
Okay.
Are you gonna pick people that are deadly with a shotgun then in close quarters? Does that change your whole pick?
Based on the beta, no. Like the test flight currently. But I don't think that the shotgun player should be the main focus point here. Because, okay, like Grizz, Hugs can do a lot. You know, I've seen what those guys can do with a shotgun.
Certainly entertaining.
Hand, yeah, it's really entertaining. On the other hand, like another player who's maybe not that skilled with a shotgun, picking up a shotgun instead, he is going to get 2 kills instead of 3 in that spot. But he's going to excel a lot more in other spots. Not to put any of those players down, both Grizz and Hugs are amazing with other rifles, but in this selection, I think they just can't make the cut.
Do you think that the tourney meta is about to change coming up? You know, we do have new guns and new maps. Is that going to change anything as far as, all right, well, everyone's practicing A, B, and C map, but they're forgetting about, you know, D, E, and F or something like that. Or the strats with, you know, I know everyone's not really using the TRG, but I can kind of see it being like a good anti-eco gun or eco gun. So I don't know. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Let's go point by point here. With the maps, there's always this thing happening. I think there's a natural evolution of maps where, let's say you take North America currently. You have Cae5ar and Hammers. Both of them deadly on canals, deadly on grounded, and then deadly on either Bureau or Plaza. Okay? That means that all of the up-and-coming teams, they want to practice something that's not canals, that's not grounded, because those are the maps you want to be banning from those.
Yep, exactly.
And then in a while you get the switch, because now Cae5ar and Hammers have to play the other maps, and the new up-and-coming teams aren't playing the old maps, and then you make the switch happen. And that's how the evolution goes. That's how the popular maps always, you know, switch around. Some of the maps are always around, like Bureau is always here, because it's usually that third best map for everyone, you know. Everyone
it used to be the go-to map.
Yeah, it for like when you're banning, it is the go-to map, because you're like, oh, we can play Bureau. Maybe necessarily it isn't our best map, but we're not going to do bad on Bureau. No one's bad on Bureau, except SDX, but no one's bad on Bureau, basically. No, okay, they improved last season, but oh my god, the nerves broken with that team on Bureau, and they kept picking it for some reason. I don't know. On the other hand, when it comes to the TRG, and like maybe the XD is going to be used a little bit more, I don't think that's going to be that impactful. The TRG is really situational. I don't think you can use it on an anti-eco. Because if you get rushed down, you're dead. If on an anti-eco you cannot spray down a lot of players, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
You know? And that's not something you can retake with, because if 5 players rush one of your guys and kills 3, but you now have a TRG, what are you going to do? Like, how do you get into the site? It's a lot harder.
I believe I only saw it used a handful of times.
Yeah,
I think Cam used it once, and that was that's really all I saw.
I think Cam got a few kills, but the TRG has 2 situational like uses. One, if you're really bad with a rifle, and you know are an excellent sniper, then sure. But I think at that point it's much better for you to spend your time practicing that AK and that M4, because it's going to be turned out a lot better for you than using the TRG. And the other one is on those eco rounds or those force round buys, there are just setups where you can use it. Like, let me think of something that can work out for you.
I think it depends on the map too, though.
Yeah, it really depends on the map because it's situational spots. Let's say canals, you can snipe from CT or over mid, and you get a few tags. Now your teammates with shotguns and pistols can actually kill them.
Yep.
Now a revolver one-shots them. You know, that can help out a lot, and we have seen it used in that way effectively. Because if you get 3 tags with that thing, it's really good. Yep. But you have to have a spot. You can only do that on force.
The canals map. What I noticed this past season was that mid control. Whoever had mid control really dominated that map, which is something that was a little I guess we'll use Hammers and D2R for example. That first time they played on there was kind of shocking to me how they let I guess Action in them and really infiltrate that mid zone.
Yeah, that was, and we called them out on it hard. We were like, you have to take mid. On the other hand, Hammers came in with a completely different setup that since everyone's taking mid in the semis or the finals, they came in with that W ratio. We're not going to touch mid. Man. Yeah, W ratio. We are not touching mid strat, which was amazing for me. I loved it because it's really, really smart in a way that they moved around the map, and they always knew what was happening around mid, but they never directly challenged for it. And they would just let it be because they would almost always get a pick. And their retakes were perfect. But they haven't lost a retake in the finals, I think. Yeah, when they're retaking 3 versus 3, they just win that. That's normal for them.
And that's the thing. Hammers has that consistency with their retakes. They've always been very consistent in where their players play and how well they play their positions.
Yeah.
So I feel like Hammers with Knight joining their team, I think they're gonna be a really scary team from here on out, and that's And I'm not taking anything against from D2R GS in North America. I'm just being very objective and unbiased in what I see, and like we were saying earlier, that's a massive pickup. That's like an all-star trade.
And you know, this is not like to make the best team. This is that's what would be the best for the region in a way. What I would love to happen is that I would love for Fishbits to leave Hammers, go into like a tier 2 team, and make everyone, all of them, as good as he made IFL. You know, I mean, but that would be really fun, and I think he's the kind of guy who can do that.
He could.
Like IFL, IFL was not a one-man project. Like it's not only Fishbits, like. And Spacey and High and Blue Eyes, all of them were there, you know? And even like Shadow, and I'm missing one big one, Carnage with that, you know? Everyone was there, everyone was helping out, but Fishbits and Spacey together were usually the masterminds. And I think maybe I'm completely wrong, I'm guessing, but I feel like they teach, you know, and Blue Eyes and High, all of those players, like Blue Eyes and High are 12 or 13 years old.
They're pretty young.
They're really disciplined. They're really intelligent with the way they play. They're playing like they're a lot more mature compared to some other players. And I think that's because Fish and Spacey made sure that those guys play like that. And if they can do that to some other tier 2 teams in North America, we are going to have like 8 really good teams.
Oh yeah, that's what would bring and attract orgs, is like that heavy competition.
That would be really fun. But if I were Fishbits, I wouldn't do that. I would stay in Hammers and, you know, win everything ever. But it would be fun.
I mean, but that's stuff that we can't do now. It would be cool. I mean, you remember the days when Kings and Team Phoenix had like 2 or 3 teams per like.
Yeah.
So that was obviously that's not there anymore. But I mean, that's basically what built all the other teams now that we have. So looking forward to the COPS scene in future. What would you like to see on personally for you?
I mean, okay, there are all the obvious answers like, I would love to see lands. I would love to see, you know, new teams coming up. That's all. I'm not going to say any of those. Those are the obvious, you know. Everyone wants to see that. What I want to see is, okay, of course, teams sticking together for longer. But I want to see some of the maps reworked.
Yeah.
And new maps coming in.
Yeah.
I think everyone currently knows my dislike for Plaza.
For Plaza? Yeah.
Yeah. It has turned into a meme at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do not like that. And I think that the best way to play Plaza is to gamble.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't create a competitive and healthy esports scene to me. Mm-hmm. And I think that if Plaza didn't exist, name stacking would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like, name stacking could be fun and, interactive, but because of Plaza. So, yeah, I am vocal about me not liking.
They did have the little screenshot with the construction hats and stuff, so I don't. That was a while back, so I don't know if they are doing that, but I mean, we'll just have to wait and find out. I mean, I know they have a bunch of stuff on the Trello roadmap. So.
Yeah, they always had it.
They got a lot of question marks there, though, so a lot of hidden things. So we'll just have to wait.
Yeah.
So I guess it's gonna kind of wrap up our first podcast. I mean, I'd love to have you come back on the show, maybe weekly or every other week after like each week goes by, so we can discuss and debate things and very similar to like First Take and stuff. And I apologize, Turtle Nuggets and Coco couldn't be here, but it was great. It was great to have we just did an hour and 21 minutes of this, and it probably didn't even feel like that.
There are lots of things that we could have talked about.
Oh, we could have gone just on one topic for hours, but see, that gives us stuff to talk about next time. So,
exactly.
I appreciate you being on the show, everyone. This is Caesar from Valiance and Legacy saying thank you for listening, and tune in maybe next week or the week after. So, peace.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.